How are you doing, Wesley?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right. I mean, we're in Calgary right now, so the snow started to melt. How's it where you are?
It is. I'm in LA right now. I'm kind of bouncing all over, so it's very nice here right now. But we're about to head east again soon, so back into the snow.
Wow, yeah, I always it's funny. I feel like we just saw so much about it on the news, but I'm wondering how LA is after all the wildfires. Is it pretty normal in town when you're there right now, or I don't know what part of LA you're in, but
Yeah, I'm in like the sort of West Hollywood area. It's So I flew in during the fires. We landed and we were here for an event that was like canceled. Soon after. So as I was landing, I was seeing the fires. This was weeks ago, and I was very, uh, you know, it was kind of just, it didn't feel real to watch that. And so being back, I kind of thought there would be more of a haze in the air and a haze among the people and how they were feeling. But people seem to have been pretty resilient, at least in this area. I'm sure if you're in the Palisades and Malibu and other places that were really hit directly, it's pretty devastating. But there's this, to a city like this, they seem pretty tough. Like they just keep
yeah.
moving.
Oh, that's good. That's positive to hear. Well, Wesley Schultz from the Lumineers joining us today, and we obviously know you have a big North American tour going on right now. Now, we slightly got vetted for the fact that you may be doing a Canadian tour. I don't know if we're supposed to ask you about that quite yet,
I
but
was told you could do this.
Ah! No, we definitely will. Canada as a whole just comes out big for us, and so we're like forever loyal to Canada because they were. So our first sellout ever was in Canada, like
wow.
first show to sell out. So I always like coming back, and now I've met a number of hockey players through one of the Flames, from Tyson Berry, who's kind of
Oh.
been on a number of different teams. Petitioning the coach to put him in, stop healthy scratching him. Um, but he's a hell of a guy, and so I've gotten to know a few, hockey players who are, a lot of them are Canadians. So through that, so it's one of the nicest groups overall is meeting professional hockey players who are just like amazing people.
That is so nice of you to say.
Yeah, normally we don't get that.
Yeah, I really like that. No, it's good. It's
No, we have a
something.
lot of them like through Tyson, and then the friends I make through it. Like you have them backstage after the show, and they're like missing teeth, and they're so nice, and their wives are so. Everybody's just like really cool. Whereas other sports can have a little more of like a big ego, and a little bit like they're better than you, and these guys are just like salt of the earth.
I think
Wow.
that's kind of true. You got to think about a lot of these athletes at these arenas, right, in Canada when they're the only sports team utilizing the space, right? Probably in their off day, they want to go and catch a show when you guys come and
It's
like the
exciting.
chat, right? So I always forget
Yeah,
that's probably something that they get privy to being,
yeah, we're on their turf.
yeah, yeah.
They're
Uh,
like, that's my weight room. Yeah.
Do
you
use
probably
the
did get to
team
tour them
locker
all.
rooms before you go out. That's
They're
awesome.
playing some
Yeah.
baseball stadiums. I saw on this tour here. Um,
Yeah.
Automatic came out on Valentine's Day. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and I guess we're not that thoughtful because no, it was not on purpose. It was the time on the counter that made the most sense. But there was like a conspiracy theory going around because in our same old song music video, the first one we released off the album, Jared played drums with the sticks had roses glued to them, and then we put a still image out of the roses all over his snare drum, and they were like, "Oh, it's coming out." On Reddit, it was like it's coming out of Valentine's Day. I know it, and they were right, but it was just circumstance. It was just coincidence.
I think you gotta give it up to your fan base for being that in tune for going to like through Reddit rabbit holes. I know a couple
Oh,
other bands
they might be
have
excited
that.
to know that they're looking at the Reddit as well.
Well,
Like,
that's what I
Yeah,
mean. I'm
my wife
like,
looks at it and gives me like highlights every so often, and sometimes comments and corrects people, and I'm like, you can't do this. Like, you can't do. Um, but yeah, I mean, between that, on our last album, somebody filmed us. I was playing the album for a friend of mine in his apartment loudly, and somebody filmed the wall with the audio, and they're like, "What Lumineers record is this?" But it hadn't come out yet, and I was like, "That's a good ear." And I remember I was like pulling up to my house, playing my buddy the album. This is again the last one. I was playing in my car, and I played him the acoustic version of Brightside, and this girl comes up to the car. It's night, and she like comes up and she's like, "Excuse me, is that a new Lumineers song?" And I was like, "What is going on here?" So it was really cool to hear people be able to pick it out and recognize it as like, I know what that is now. Because for the longest time, you spend just trying to get people to pay attention for like a minute. And so the fact that people are taking any extra time and, doing that kind of sleuthing is it's pretty meaningful. They probably don't understand how powerful it is as the artist.
You sound like a guy who still loves what he does. That's awesome.
Appreciates the fans.
Yeah, I'm sure some people, they go, "Oh, great, somebody's coming up to my car. What now?" But like you said, you spend so long trying to get people to do this, and knowing that you guys have been doing this since 2005. Does that feeling ever get old, or you're like, "Damn, people know who we are now"?
I think I'm getting old, but I don't feel old.
You don't look old. You look good. Don't worry.
Thank you. Yeah, Jared and I have been, like you mentioned, writing now for 20 years together. And I could honestly say, like, if you gave me a truth serum, or, I took a lie detector test, like, we had more fun and we're like little kids making this record than anything we'd made prior. So sometimes you forget when you're touring with someone else or other people, touring is hard. Touring is like, you're living together, you're performing, which is pretty high output. And it's just like a strenuous kind of strange existence. You're in a different place every night. But the music is sort of like the anchor and what's kept us. After we made the record, we're like, "Oh yeah, that's why we're in a band." Because you can kind of get at each other's throats over the course of a tour. You're like, I always, it's like, "That dude's chewing his mouth open again."
That's us every day, man.
It's like it's too much time together. But like, it's what's beautiful is like remembering that kind of what brought us together in the first place, and what keeps everything intact in a good band. I would say is like, you have to love just sitting around writing music and recording it, and that's the easy part for us. We love that. So
is it still the same type of process? Like, I remember reading an interview way back saying that you guys would have an AM radio in the writing room, but like as things get older, maybe there's fatherhood, all that stuff going on. Is it still the same process?
It's a lot. I would say it's more like a concentrated effort. We used to have the luxury of just like hours and days and months. And I think now it's a combination of like maybe having less of that free time overall with a family and kids, but also knowing how to use time, work smarter, not harder sometimes. And I think in music, if you do it long enough, sometimes the more you work on it, the worse it gets. So you start to develop a trust of when an idea is good, and when to pursue it, and kind of when to drop an idea or save it and say, maybe I'll use this on something, but it's just not. So I think we were a lot more instinctual on this last record, and you feel that spontaneity and you feel that curiosity off the recordings, because we're not drilling it to death. We're not doing it 100. We're not recording it 100 times and you're hearing the 101st iteration. Like everything is almost, first, second, third take, and then we're done. So it's a lot more. And that's honestly, like, you like a guy like Neil Young, that's what he's doing. You like a guy like Bob Dylan, that's what he's doing. Bruce Springsteen's probably not that much different. So I feel like all my heroes did that, and you have to trust yourself enough to sort of like not strangle an idea, just to kind of let it out.
That is some wicked advice, though, to give. We talked to, obviously, like a plethora of different bands at different stages and stuff, and everybody kind of has their means to how they survive the tour, or, the people that they're spending the most time with. And I like that, not beating it to death. I wish I had the talent to be able to harbor that advice for our radio show, to just give it one go and let it fly. But
well, I've also found, I've been to shows where it's so incredibly dialed in and perfect that you don't even really feel connected to it. And so sometimes the mistakes that happen live are the things that you love the most about a show. When something goes wrong and how the artist deals with that, It's the same can be said for like comedy, where you can nail all your jokes, but it's when like a drink spills and
Yeah.
the comedian just is able to, or a heckler, they kind of put them in their place. It's a lot of that where I feel like the same could be said for music, like that song "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone."
Yep.
It's like there's a part where he goes, "My baby, 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 baby," and he's clapping, and he's clapping on the vocal mic. He's not supposed to be, but he got so into it, and then they just kept it. And satisfaction. I was like, I can't get no dun dun dun. Dun. That's supposed to be a horn part. They put the guitar down, and then they just fell in love with the guitar. It's like some of this stuff is just, it's just kind of happens, and then you can react to it, and you can end up liking it more than what you thought the perfect idea was. And I think you started falling more in love with that. But I wish that I could have acted the same exact way 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But I think it does take a level of, confidence in yourself. So you're not up at night like, was that bad? You have to know if, you have to do it long enough. It's like letting an actor improvise a scene. Like, I think you have to do it for a little while before it works that way.
Is that what still keeps it fun after all these years on stage? Like, and as of course, touring the new music as well. But I imagine like that's got to be the exciting part of it.
Yeah, just screwing up in front of everybody's the best part. No, it's like there is something to be said for like things going wrong and like using that as a moment to like laugh at yourself, to start over, to see. I don't know. Just I think I like when people see you sweat a little bit. It's like it's a real. There's a story. I think it was a Barbara Streisand story where she was such a good performer that every once in a while, if things were going perfectly, she would deliberately, like, she wore high heels and she would like look like she tripped, and the audience would like loosen up because everything was just tight as a drum and it wasn't good. And I think playing live, it's taken me years and years, and I think that allows you to enjoy it when you're not trying to be perfect. It's like you can really just let it rip a little bit more and let it flow instead of always doing an inventory of every little thing that you thought wasn't great or wasn't right.
Well, you give a very good vibe heading into your show. If people haven't been able to catch you on the last tour, it's nice. It seems very relaxed and real, which we appreciate.
Yeah, anything can happen.
It's so funny. I'm just looking on your guys' social media right now, and it's so many Canadian people are like, oh my God, when's the next Canadian stop? And so I'm so happy to hear that you're hopefully coming our way. But I'm just looking at some of the people that you're touring with.
Big gets.
Yeah, we're huge fans
Huge
here.
gets.
Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats and Vance Joy, and you guys got Young the Giant on there. Like, just the list goes on and on. So how did you guys curate some of these bands? Have you worked with any of these guys before?
Yeah, I mean, I was just hanging out with Nathaniel last night, and Gregory Alan Isaacoff as well. He's not on this tour, but we toured with Nathaniel in 2013. He came on a long tour with us. It was him and Dr. Dog and us, and that list is full of bands that a lot of them we've toured with or know, or in the case of St. Vincent, really big fan of, and just like honored that she's able to do it. But I think the theory, like the what is it? Not the theory, but the kind of mantra behind it was like create an event. It's not just like a typical show. Like when you go to a show, we got to open for U2 back in 2017, and they were really intentional about the openers they had. There were some really cool acts that like made it a whole night of music, and it's not something where you just skip the opener. It's like it's almost like a festival.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what we wanted to do, because we were moving into some pretty big spaces in the States. Like in Denver, we're playing the football stadium Mile High, and in Chicago, we're playing Soldier Field, where the Bears play. And then we're doing, I think, eight baseball stadiums, and the rest are going to be arenas and sheds. And I think those are big places, and you want to give someone, a big night out, and not just like any old show. So those bands are such a big part of that.
Well, I can't wait to see who you bring. Hopefully, if you come down here to
Calgary, yeah.
yeah. We won't. I was just told to do this. What are you most excited about to play with this new album? And what else can you tell us about it while we still got some of your time here?
I mean, I think if anybody's listening that has come to our shows and followed us at all, we put out a new record. We play the whole thing at the shows for that record cycle, and then we kind of winnow it down to some of our favorites or rotate them in and out. So this is the automatic tour. We're going to play that record, but we'll also play. Luckily for everybody, we write short songs, so we still have plenty of time for a lot of songs from the whole catalog of the other 4 records. So it's kind of it's going to be fun to shuffle things in and out. And I think you'll see a band. If you've seen us before, I think you'll see something a little different in the sense that we can really actually mix it up a little bit more, having 5 records out. And you can't play all the songs every night now, and that's a really selfishly, it's a good feeling, because then if you didn't play Dead Sea the night before and you get to play it tonight, there's a different energy around that, or Gale Song or something. There's all these songs that are right on the edge of they might make it, they might not. So I think that's really fun for a band. And if you're seeing a band enjoy themselves, you get a different kind of experience than if it's just where am I? All right. What, we feel really connected to what you're doing when you're up there, actually having to think about it. And what are we playing tonight?
You have to be, Wesley, one of the most considerate artists that we've ever interviewed with their fan base. You're so kind. You're don't worry, we're gonna play a big wide variety. That's really nice, because people obviously come to you because they're very excited about the new tour, but you gotta admire that the fans love your classic hits, right? And I can say that now because you pointed out, it's been 2 decades basically of you guys doing this, which is crazy. So I guess we just can't wait, hopefully, until you can make your trip up here. But want to wish you all the congrats on your success for the Automatic World Tour.
Thanks. We can't wait. And like I said, Canada's real big for us. So even though the dates haven't been announced yet, they're imminent.
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 Yeah, imminent. Yeah.
And Wesley, one final bonus question for you. You said you like Bob Dylan. Did you see A Complete Unknown?
I did.
What did you think?
Timothy Chalamet, was he your guy or no?
Yeah, he was great. I say this with all due respect to Timothy, you forget how good Bob Dylan's voice is when historically he's been sort of ragged on for having a lousy voice. And then you hear somebody trying to sing and you're like, damn, he smokes, Timothy. But I thought also at the same time, I love that Timothy Chalamet sang the songs himself. You could tell he was doing it live. It takes a lot of guts. And I thought he didn't overact the Dylan role. And it was just great. And I liked that, true to Dylan, they sort of took liberties with different things and mixed up timelines to make the story better. And it just feels like the mythology around Dylan has always been a bit hazy, and that's how he wants it. It's when I used to work in the circus, and he never worked in a carnival. He's just a guy that captures our imagination because he's just so compelling. So I thought it was great, and I was kind of relieved to like it because I didn't know how to feel about it. That they were making a movie about a guy that was still alive and is a living legend.
I do think people often forget that, because Bob Dylan's been around. He's been around for a while. And I thought the movie's got to be good if they're getting Timothy Chalamet on SNL performing the songs, right? So
totally.
Yeah.
That as well. That's a real... I mean, I saw him in Lady Bird, and he was playing bass guitar, I think, in that movie. And you could tell he was a real musician. You're like, oh, he plays. You can definitely tell.
Yeah,
And... yeah, and I'm excited to see the Bruce Springsteen one because that actor from The Bears, a total legend, and I think he'll make a good Springsteen.
I have such a crush on him.
He's the man.
Yeah, Ty's sick of me hearing, and I'm like, did you see his Calvin Klein ad? That guy,
oh my gosh! Well, Wesley, we can't wait for the Automatic Tour to make a stop here. Dates imminent.
Yes.
And thanks for chatting with us, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.